G'day everyone, I'm the man called Kemosabe, the man with the plan from the land down under, and this video is about why writer's block is complete bullshit, doesn't really exist, and 10 ways to beat it. Now before we go on, I've got to do two things. Number one is to shill my comic, The Company Men, Dead, White and Blue, a 60-page full-colour comic currently in demand on Indiegogo. It's 100% funded, 100% of the art is complete, and it's a story of a superhuman CIA strike team stranded in a Middle Eastern war zone after being burned by their handlers. They have to fight their way out of the war zone, clear their names and stop a major terrorist attack in less than 24 hours. This comic is full of political intrigue, spycraft and intense, violent, superhuman action. We've got both digital and physical options available, with amazing variant covers by some of the best indie artists working in comics today. Secondly, I have to define writer's block, otherwise the comments get full of people arguing semantics. I'm not talking about writer's block as in you want to write something and you can't seem to make a start. That's a different topic altogether, and one I'm probably not well equipped to talk about. I rarely struggle to ever come up with ideas for stories, and if I did, I'd just go to my extensive back catalogue to find something else I want to work on. I'm talking about writer's block as in you're part way through your story and you can't move forward. That kind of writer's block doesn't exist. You might find yourself in that state, but it's not writer's block. The thing about writer's block is, it's just bullshit procrastination caused by lack of planning. That's it. That's the entirety of it. I'd rather you didn't close this video right now, but you could. There's nothing else to so-called writer's block than poor or insufficient planning. If you have writer's block, it's because you haven't planned your story well enough down to a granular degree. Writer's block isn't when you can't think of the best way to say something or describe or explain something. It's not when you need an appropriate name or a word you can't think of. All of these things can be overcome with a little research, brainstorming, or having a third party to bounce ideas off of. Real writer's block is when you're in the guts of the story and you don't know what happens next. You can't go forward because you either don't know or can't decide what happens next. Now if you're a pantser, you might come across this often. You might not. You might be that magical sort of unicorn pantser who somehow always knows what comes next. If you're like the other 8 billion people on the planet, you found yourself in this position because you didn't plan things out well enough. I'm not saying you did a bad job, but I'm betting you left something vague or figured you'd make it up as you went along, and now you don't know what that point B is to help get you from A to C. What's that old saying? Fail to plan, plan to fail? It's not wrong. Yeah, sometimes you'll get by and make stuff up as you go, and oftentimes that stuff is gold. That pure on-the-fly creativity is one of the best things about writing. But with that looseness comes a lack of structure, sometimes to the point where you're left floundering to find something to fill the gap you've left. If you've encountered writer's block, aka you don't know what happens next, or you're not feeling motivated to write, here's some ways to kickstart your creativity. Number 1, engage with other media to get inspiration, especially media similar to what you're writing. The conceits and conventions of that genre might bolster your enthusiasm or even spark an idea of what happens next. It might be comic books, movies, TV shows, books, fiction and non-fiction, musical, video games, but immerse yourself in a similar world to the one you are creating and see what happens. Number 2, take a walk, or do some gardening, or wash your car, or take a shower. Anything mechanical and methodical that lets you clear your head and lets the little guys in the basement of your brain do their thing. You might be surprised what they come up with when you aren't actively thinking about your story. Number 3, write anything, even if it's wrong. This strategy I'd offer a caveat though. If you write something to move the story forward and it's wrong, it's just plain bad, you might find yourself unable to see any other way to frame this scene and you might be stuck with it. If I were to go read Lord of the Rings, I couldn't imagine Aragorn looking anything else other than Viggo Mortensen. Not a bad problem to have, but the energy it'd take to force my brain to picture someone else isn't worth the result. If you write something terrible, you might have trouble coming up with something better because that bad scene is now how your brain believes it took place. Number 4, write anything else, even if it's a different story. Either have something else to work on in between or start something new. Write a journal entry about what's going on, write a description of someone or something, write out a scene in a movie. Write anything to get the cogs turning again. I believe after a certain amount of time writing, you never really need to do this. Your brain has been shaped to spark up and start producing words when it's told to, but maybe that hasn't happened for you yet. If you're having trouble writing one thing, just try writing something else. Number 5, brainstorm. Spitball every crazy idea you can come up with to help move forward. Even if you come up with some really bad ones, look at them as cautionary tales, as what not to do. Brainstorming, as I've said in other videos, is one of the most powerful tools you have at your disposal. Practice it, get good at it, and see the results. Number 6, bounce ideas off someone else. It's a good idea to have a writing buddy, or 4 or 5, like-minded but not too like-minded people, who you can bounce ideas off of. My brother was a great writing buddy for years. I could tell him what was happening in the story and he could tell me his predictions, what he thought would happen next. Very helpful when even you don't know what comes next. Again, even if it's what not to do. If what your buddy predicts is the total opposite of what you thought would happen, now you know what you want to have happen because it's the opposite of what he predicted. Brainstorming with a buddy is a very powerful tool. Twice the ideas for the same amount of effort on your part. Number 7, skip ahead and write what you know will happen, then patch up the holes you leave behind. This can be messy and a lot of work, but it's sometimes necessary. I don't like this technique, it's very finicky, but I've used it successfully several times. I used it today actually. I knew this team of raiders would win a certain battle. It didn't matter how they won for the purposes of the story, just that they won and that many of them died in taking the objective. I can write the rest of the story with this limited information and come back and work out the details later. I don't have to be stuck on the details of the battle. I can finish the overall story, then come back and fill in those gaps at a later date when my mind's in the right place to be writing those sort of things. Number 8, similar to this, do anything else writing related. Helpful if you have other stories on the go or finished, but you're still working on. Go back to another piece of writing and edit it, see where you can improve, cut the fat, apply the various rules of writing detailed in my other videos to make sure you're doing all the things expected of a writer. There are a lot of jobs besides just writing when you are a writer. Write character profiles, location descriptions, plan and plot lore and history, research the era. Do something that still helps you make some sort of progress on at least one piece of writing. Number 9, take a break. This one is dangerous. Yeah, you can go watch a movie for 90 or 120 minutes to help kickstart the old brain box, but you need to have a deadline. You need a set time you will switch off the boob tube and get back to work. Taking a break by spending time on social media or mucking about online doesn't have a set time limit and can really eat away at your day. But sometimes you genuinely need a break from the world you are creating. Writing isn't easy. Use this tactic sparingly or you might find your time slipping away, and it's time you'll never get back. Number 10, the best one on this list and one that I go to first, take a step back and actually plan. Is it hard work? Yes, but it's probably the best tool at your disposal, especially when paired with brainstorming. If your quote-unquote writer's block is caused by a lack of planning, and you know it is because that's all that it ever is, you need to take a step back from the story and actually plan what happens next. Speak out the dialogue, film yourself playing the parts of both parties having a conversation. Choreograph a battle, draw maps of war zones or the dead woman's apartment or the bank vault that's getting robbed. Plan, to a granular degree, what is going to happen so you know what is going to happen. Then you've just got to write it. So there you go, there's 10 ways to defeat the thing that doesn't really exist. What works for you when combating writer's block? Do you think writer's block is real, or do you recognise it comes from a lack of planning? What do you do to overcome this feeling? Which of these tactics have worked for you? Which ones do you want to try? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, consider liking and subscribing, and I'll see you on the next writing workshop video. Take care.